Hello and welcome to yet another edition of E-Expressions with the New Indian Express. I have with me the Kerala Health Minister, Ms. Shailaja, teacher as she's called fondly, the star of Virus. If you've not watched that movie, please do. But more than that, she really was the force behind controlling Nipah last time round. And at the beginning of the COVID-19, she really was again the key behind the Kerala model succeeding. But then something somewhere went wrong. We'll discuss that. We also have Mr. Ramesh Chennithala, the leader of the opposition and quite a fierce critic, and I think friend as well of Ms. Shailaja. And of course, Mr. Prabhu Chawla, who knows both of them, the editorial director of the New Indian Express, who has his own thoughts on the virus. So, hello and welcome, ma'am. And I'd like to begin with you. What really went wrong with the Kerala model, which was so fated and so celebrated? At the beginning of the COVID-19, it looked as if everything was in order, but then during the second wave, something seemed to have gone wrong. Please do tell us.
I think we cannot say something went wrong here,
Yeah,
but we are facing a great challenge. This is a novel virus, and we are the whole globe is trying to tackle this problem properly. Our aim is to reduce the mortality rate. Ultimate aim is that.
yes,
Part Kerala tried best to reduce the transmission rate and also reduce the mortality rate, case
right,
fatality rate. And before the lifting of the lockdown, we have 500 cases, almost 500 cases before May 3rd. March 24th, the central government declared the lockdown here, and May 3rd, after May 3rd, central government lifted the lockdown. We cannot lock down everything forever because
right,
we have to protect the livelihoods also, not only the lives but also livelihoods also. That is why our country lifted the lockdown. But when once the lockdown lifted, we expected that the transmission become great, or the curve again become sharper, and we expected that and prepared for that. Before May 3rd, we have only 500 cases, 499 cases, and only 3 deaths out of that, and our transmission rate is only 33%.
right.
Out of the imported cases, we have 33% transmitted cases, locally transmitted cases. And that was a success story. We didn't celebrate it, but all the world is looking at
The
us,
world celebrated it.
What Kerala is doing there, and they can reduce the mortality rate to 0.5%. And they inquired and they asked me, how is it possible? How was it possible? And I said to them that we tried our best. We have a very good public health system here, and we have a united work here, and we have the local level workers, volunteers, etc. And combining all these things, we were fighting against that virus at that time, and we gained a very good result out of that. That is the thing. At that time itself, I told to the BBC and also to the Guardian, I told that we are expecting a second wave once the lockdown lifted. And certainly it came here.
Right,
And after May 3rd, we are getting more cases. Within these months, we got so many cases, and the virus go to the society also,
right,
and it is spreading, and not spreading throughout the state, but also in some parts. And we have some clusters formed. When the lockdown was listed, the people, expatriates, in a bulk, they returned to Kerala. More than 9 lakhs expatriates returned to Kerala at that time. Before that, only 1 lakh people returned from outside the state, and also from the other countries, and also from other states, neighbor states. But once the lockdown lifted at that time, 9 lakhs, more than 9 lakhs, I think now it becomes more than 10 lakhs people return to Kerala, and the transmission occur.
right.
80% of the people will obey our guidelines of the health department, but 20% they will jump the quarantine, and they will go to the society, and that way the transmission occurred here, and some clusters formed, and in towns and in cities it occurred. And at that time onwards, we are trying our best to tackle the problem, to contain this virus, or to reduce the graph, and also reduce the mortality rate. One thing I can say that now also our mortality rate is only 0.35.
Yeah.
If it's reducing actually, then we cannot say we have done any mistake.
Right.
Something occurred here, some gatherings and other things for festival and for wedding, etc. And at their place, some clusters occurred here. That is the truth. But we are not losing, our mortality rate is 0.34% yesterday.
I wanted to say something.
Please do.
You are all aware that Kerala is one of the best health infrastructure facilities in
Yes.
the country.
Right.
For decades, over the period of last 50 to 60 years, Kerala worked in a very, very specific manner to improve the health conditions in the state. And I can very well say that our health standards are equal to the European standard. That is why this pandemic has been effectively checked by the state government. The opposition as well as the government both work together to tackle the issue and help the people to recover from this pandemic. We are all aware that you are all aware that the first infection started from Kerala only, because the two students from Wuhan came here, and they
Right.
were isolated, treated properly, and they got relief. And see that there are 2-3 important points I wanted to mention.
Yes.
Is that this COVID-19 pandemic has to be carefully dealt. The method which we are following was the containment method. Both containment method and mitigation method, both have to be taken into COVID pandemic to pandemic. From our experience, I can tell you one thing: the people of Kerala was very much cooperating with the law as well as the system. That's why we could able to check spreading of this pandemic in a bigger way. See, there are shortcomings also. In every system, there will be shortcomings. But as opposition, we cooperated with the government. And with that time and again, we were merely mentioning about the lacunas, and our suggestions were given to the Chief Minister as well as the Health Minister. Wherever possible, we were all our MLAs and all our local body local body were also cooperating with the government on this. Even though we had a lot of political differences, in this case of pandemic, we were all together. But at the same time, I wanted to talk and tell one or two very important issues.
Yes.
Number one, the pandemic should not be converted into a PR exercise, because when the initial stage, the government propagated that we had made a successfully we could able to control it, and we are number one in the world. Now, what is our situation? See, even before starting our work, we projected us that we are number one in the world. That given a message. That has given a message to the people that the pandemic is over and there was slackness in every field. That is why what happened, the second spread has taken place. Now, if you see that in our country, we are number one in the number of patients, and the efficiency which we could have been shown has not been shown properly. That is because we have a health infrastructure. Our health infrastructure was better than any other state. So we could have utilized this properly, so that it can be managed in a better way. Instead of using this politically for advantage of politics, it should not have been used for political advantage. Should have been used in a different way. Unfortunately, the government has not done it properly. That is why now the number of patients are increasing day by day.
You're talking about PR exercise, that because of PR exercise, what is the connection between PR exercise and number of cases going up? Because Kerala is number one at the moment, as you rightly pointed out. Delhi the second now.
The PR exercise which I mentioned is that when the initial stage the government was projecting that we had number one in the world, but look at the situation afterwards. See, this is not a PR exercise. This is the bounden duty of every government to tackle the issue properly. Now the situation would have been worsened. People were suffering now. From the very beginning, we were telling about the test. According to the World Health Organization, test, test, test. That is the only one motto which we have to follow. Unfortunately, the number of tests which has been taken place was very low. Time and again we were complaining about that. Time and again we were requesting the Chief Minister for that. But they were not increasing the tests. If we will more tests, there will be more patients. So from the very beginning, we were asking, requesting for having more and more tests so that the pandemic can be controlled properly. And the test positivity ratio has increased to 17% and more than that. See, it is in the double digit even today. So my point is that the government would have taken more care on this issue. And IMA, Indian Medical Association, was complaining, but nobody was taking care of their arguments. Nobody was taking care of their views.
Ramesh, let me interrupt you, because what you are saying that you got a best infrastructure in the country. Who has failed Kerala, state of Kerala? The leadership, the health minister, the chief minister, or the people of Kerala have failed each other by not following the norms, as the health minister was pointing out earlier. So whom do you blame, the leadership or the people of Kerala who don't follow the norms?
I am blaming the government, no doubt about it. What about the people? People will follow the government. Initially I told that whatever the instructions given by the government has been followed by the people, irrespective of politics.
But Shailaja teacher should respond. But he's saying basically government has failed the people and not, because you had the infrastructure, you had done very well. Just suddenly you started propagating yourself, and now you see the scene what has gone wrong with us.
Yes, Shailaji.
Mr. Chawla, I can very well tell you one thing more. That considering the best infrastructure facilities in the country, Kerala would have been performed better than today. Our performance would have been better.
Let her respond now to your that. Yeah.
Yes. I want to point out some things before our honorable opposition leader, The first part itself, we are warning, the government is warning that if we lose or if we gather together, we will lose. And we should obey the guidelines of the health department. The opposition leader is saying that the first part we had done a PR work about that, because I mentioned earlier that I am not familiar with the BBC or Guardian or any that kind of medias. They propagated that Kerala is in the first place, or Kerala is best out of the countries throughout the world. Kerala is performing well. The world media is propagated like that. They are not familiar to me, but they are propagating results we had got here. And that is the result of the collective work, as Ramesh Chennithala said, the collective work of the health department and the local self-government and the poor people throughout our country, our volunteers, and our very good health system. Yes, opposition leader said our health system throughout the year we are building a very good health system, public health system in Kerala. But within 4 years, when over this time, that exceeded all the limit, so that the advancement of the health system. Anyone can examine that we were converting our PHC to family health centers. We are making our health systems most modern, taluka hospitals and also district hospitals, etc. We are giving more infrastructure facilities here, and we are starting new clinics in primary health sector itself. I am not explaining everything. That helped us very much during this COVID season, and we are working hard. We were working hard. But after the lifting of the lockdown, I myself and Honorable Chief Minister also want the people that don't gather together. The government is lifting the lockdown only for protecting our livelihoods to going for works, etc. But we should have to obey the guidelines of the health department, and no, we should prevent any gathering. And in some part, we decided that only 50 people for marriage functions, and also 20 people, only 20 for the funerals, etc. But some people obeyed and some didn't obey that. For some,
Let me interrupt you, because basically what we are discussing is who is responsible for the third wave. I call it third wave because you got 7,000 cases. You are blaming the people of Kerala, and
and
that means, are you saying unlocking is not working because people of India or Kerala? I'm talking about everywhere it is happening the same thing, that people are not masking themselves, they are not keeping social distancing, they are not doing sanitation properly. So do you think that we go back to locking again?
no, nothing. I am saying that human beings are mobile. We cannot prevent their mobility 100%, but we can prevent the gatherings. If we are bounded to that, we can prevent the gatherings. Sorry to say that opposition leader doesn't mention that the protest gatherings affected Kerala very badly, because not only the marriage functions or other gatherings, that protest gatherings also, several times we asked them not gather like that, 5 or 10 people you can show the protest against government, but 100 of people gathered together and they shouted slogans, and out of that 500 police personnel got this virus, when they started to tackle this problem of the protest. At that time, more than 500 policemen got virus and their families got it. And the people who were in the protest, their families also got the virus, and that way also some spread occur. That is not only but also other gatherings also were here. But it is only 20% of the people. 80% were obeying our instructions. That also become here. And I can say that the mitigation method, he is always saying about the mitigation method in assembly also. Our respected leader said that the mitigation method is the best thing. That is the first part. Then at that time, the virus is only spreading throughout the countries, throughout the world. At that time, he said that only mitigation method, the ministry is threatening the people that it is not so dangerous. It is not a dangerous virus. Mitigation method is the most suitable thing. And that time I said no. In USA, more than 50 people died. At that time, only 50 people died in USA. And after that, they used the mitigation method. Everyone can understand. But in USA, because of their mitigation method, they didn't try to contain this thing. And I think they didn't took the proper measures to contain or slow down the graph, etc. And they have no public health system also. They are a rich, it is a rich country. USA is a rich country, and the technology is highly developed there, but they cannot contain it properly, and more than 240,000 people died in USA. And in UK also more than 60,000 people died at. And in all other rich countries, highly technologically developed countries, the death toll is, we didn't imagine that thing, and it is too high. But Kerala is a small state of a country, democratic country. Ours is a small state. We are not economically so fit. We can have the people.
Shailaja, I'll stop you because you're taking the small state, but it's contributing to 15% of the total cases every day of the country. What about 50,000 cases are there? You are 7,000. Both you and Kerala, Delhi and Kerala put together 25% cases, 30% cases. That means so there is something wrong in the system. Either people are wrong or the leadership is wrong. Let me go back to Ramesh. Ramesh is pointing out. I'm going to ask him straight question. Because ultimately, people are letting.
I want to explain, I am coming to that point, What is the ultimate aim? That is to reduce the mortality rate. What is the mortality rate in Kerala? The cases went high, but we can reduce the peak or the delay the peak, Our attempt is to delay the peak. The peak will occur, definitely. This virus is that kind. But our Kerala's attempt is to delay the peak. And we delayed the peak. And the other state virus started after 40 or 45 days after Kerala. Kerala, it occurred in January, yes, Ramesh ji said, but in Tamil Nadu, it occurred after 43 days, and Karnataka, 45 days it occurred. But the peaks, all of a sudden, the peak occurred there. At that time, there also the case fatality rate or test positivity rate is more than 20%, you know. Now Kerala, the peak occurred in Kerala, but we delayed the peak. At that time we used to the preparedness of the health system. Our aim is to keep the potentiality of the virus under the health system resilience threshold. That is the scientific thing. And we put it under the health system resilience.
Let Ramesh react to you. Ramesh, do you have any point? Because I feel that both the Congress party and the CPM cadres, they have not been able to convince their own workers to keep the distance, follow the protocol.
Yes. That is
No,
why.
the point which I wanted to make is that there were protests against the government. That is true. Because the government is corrupt. The corruption charges were very huge. And the gold smuggling issue. The gold smuggling
Let's
issue.
one by one.
They didn't
The
know.
gold was one of the major issues. And the people were agitated. It is the duty of the opposition to raise the issue.
Yes.
And when the pandemic has gone up, we stopped it. And we actually followed the health protocol. And we raised our voices. 8 ministers got pandemic, COVID. Is it because of our agitation? 8 ministers got COVID. So many of these important personalities in the state has got COVID. Is it because of the strike or because of the public agitation? That I cannot accept the contention of the minister. In India now, if you look at the scenario, Kerala, the rate of the patients is, we are going very, very high. It is because of the slackness of the government. It is because of the unpreparedness of the government. And when the government promised 20,000 beds were earmarked for the Gulf returnees. When the returnees came back, they were not given proper facilities for the quarantine. Is it not a fact? And also there were lack of preparedness. There were lack of facilities. Even in the first line treatment center, people were suffering. And there were no preparedness for facing the third wave. The minister herself told, the honorable minister herself told that 20,000 people will be getting it. What preparedness was taken place? I am not blaming the health minister. Health minister warned the people and the government. More than 15,000 to 20,000 people are going to get the COVID in the coming months, so October, November. But unfortunately, the government has not taken any precaution. That is why the third wave is very high. We are number 1 in the country. So it is unfortunate.
Ramesh, I'll interrupt you. I'll speak on behalf of the minister now because the mortality rate as far as she is concerned is less than the national average. And today for 0 deaths, today at least first day when the Kerala has shown no death at all. Maybe because of the unlocking of the Kerala state, positivity rate has gone up. But the infrastructure which government is using, preventing the mortality, it means there must be care being given to the people either at home or in the hospital. So mortality is coming down. People are recovering faster than the new cases. Is that right or not?
See, the mortality rate is always low in Kerala. It is always because of the people, their preparedness, and the modern facilities which is available in the state. My point is, it would have been even come to 0 by this existing most modern facilities available in the state of Kerala.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming anybody. I don't believe in the blame game. And the health minister is a good friend of all of us. I'm not blaming her. She is helpless, and I think that she should have taken the command more, and more facilities, more care should be given to the people who are suffering by the COVID. See, the number of patients are increasing. That is why everybody is worried. And again, I am telling that test. That is the only way. Increase the number of tests and save the people from this pandemic. Thank you
Basically, you
very
are
much.
saying, basically, you are saying stay away for PR, rather do the real work.
No, PR is going on. That is going on because of the elections are coming, that they will do it.
You're also then you can also be charged. Then you are also taking up issue because the elections are coming. You are criticizing the government now. Earlier, you were seen together on one stage and saying, "Well, we are doing a wonderful job."
No. See, the point is that our criticism is positive criticism. We are not going against anybody, nothing personal against anybody. But the point is that now the Kerala is number one in the number of patients. That has to be taken care of. The life of the people are more important than politics. So my point is, I request to the Honorable Health Minister is that you increase the number of tests, say, and try to make more and more facilities to the people. The people are law-abiding people. People follow the health protocol, whether it is opposition or ruling. Everybody followed it. But now, how many days you can continue like this? The people are suffering. No money in the
Let
pocket.
her respond now. Let her respond.
No, I am just stopping it because I have to attend the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you, Ramesh.
for me for the meeting.
Thank you, Ramesh.
I want to mention one thing that Kerala is not the first, not one, the number one in the total number of cases. The peak occurred in Kerala during this October-November month. That is why we got so many cases this month. I can analyze the reason, and I am not trying to do that. There are so many reasons, and out of that, one is the protest gathering, definitely. And we asked several times to stop this. We asked them to show your protest with 5 or 6 people with the placards or like that. You can protest that thing, and through social media also you can protest. But hundreds and thousands of people gathered in the street, and they are shouting slogans, and that was really a difficult thing, you know. Not only that, but also the other gatherings, I said that. But in Karnataka, now we the total positive cases they got was 8.39 lakhs, you know. And in Tamil Nadu, it is 7.4 lakhs. But in Kerala, that is only 4.6 lakhs. And but you should think about Kerala. We have very good public health system. That is the thing. I am agreeing that. But we should have to mention the vulnerabilities during a pandemic season. What are the important vulnerabilities? One is the demographic vulnerabilities, other is the epidemiological vulnerabilities, and other is the socio-economic. The last one, socio-economic vulnerability, is favorable to Kerala because our literacy rate is high and our life expectancy is high. That kind of thing. We have decentralized system here, governance system here. That is positive thing. But the other two vulnerabilities, that is one, the demographic thing. Our population density says 60 out of 1 square kilometer, you know. And the neighbor states, it is only 500 to 600. And our country's population density is only 460 out of 1 square kilometer. And if there is high density, the possibility of spreading the virus is also too high. It will become too high. That is the state of Kerala. And the population of the old age people, that is 14% out of the total population. That is also a high vulnerability during the pandemic season. And if the old age people got this virus, the mortality will increase definitely, because out of the people died in Kerala, we examined that more than 80% are from above 60 years old. And some young people also died, but that vulnerability is higher in Kerala. And we are struggling hard to stop this virus to enter to the entire population of the old age by announcing this reverse quarantine, grand care project. Thousands of people are working on that. I think opposition leader even.
Let me stop you here because time is very less. Do you think the peak is over? Is yet to come?
Yes,
7,000 will go to 10,000, 12,000. What is your estimate?
I have to mention one more thing. That is a scientific thing, you know. That is a science. You should listen to that science. And the epidemiological vulnerability. In Kerala, the socio-economic condition increased and lifestyle also changed. Because of the changed lifestyle, the lifestyle diseases are rampant in Kerala. Kerala is known as the diabetic capital of India, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's the highly vulnerable thing for this pandemic. And all suggested, the experts said that the most of the death will happen in Kerala if it become rampant in Kerala. And we are trying for these 9 months to stop the mortality rate among these vulnerable peoples. And we worked hard, and no one could estimate that our hard work, you know. And we worked hard. Once it will be estimated, or once it will be analyzed by the world, what we were doing here in Kerala, you can find out that 11,312 people died in Karnataka yesterday, up to yesterday. And 11,272 people died out of COVID pandemic in Tamil Nadu. Yesterday's result was that. And in Kerala, only 1,613 people.
I apologize for interrupting you. The failure of the states cannot be used as a success for your state. We are discussing Kerala model. Kerala model was because you started first, and after 7 months and 200 days, you are now reaching the peak once over again. You have the maximum experience of handling the COVID and with the best infrastructure. So you are giving statistics. We know Delhi is worse than you. What we are talking about at this point in time, but we are talking about Kerala because you were successful and you were hailed all over the world. Here is Shailaja teacher who had done the maximum work, and now we're looking back. What went wrong? That's all.
Shailaji, nothing in that a person cannot do anything because it is a teamwork. It was a teamwork and it is a teamwork. We are working hard here. But my health department and all the other department is helping me, police department and also the local self government. Why they are helping us? Because we started the preparedness earlier and we have very good planning. Not only the mitigation method, but we tried even in the testing strategy also. We have a stand here, you know, and ICMR and central government agreed that thing, not test, test, and test. But
so I ask you a question: is the peak over or peak is yet to come? Vulnerability, whatever factor you take into account.
Yes, then I can say yes. I am coming to that point. We are in a hope that the peak is not going high, but it is stable. You know, within these weeks, we are getting 6,000 to 8,000 or something like that. Once it go beyond 10,000, in 2 or 3 days, it comes to 12,000 like that, and again it began to decrease. And now throughout these 2 weeks, we are getting 6,000 to 8,000 cases out of 60,000 to 70,000 tests. And that's a good result. We hope that it is not going up, but it is coming down. And we are eagerly waiting for flattening the curve properly. And we are working hard. And the system also is prepared. Our preparedness is very, very good. And in our hospitals, we have more than 3,000 ICUs in government sector. Only half of it is filled here. We have vacant ICUs here. And we have 6,000 ICUs in private sector. Only half part is filled, not half part, below half part is filled in private sector. We have proper ICUs in our hospitals. And we have ventilators, and only 40% of the ventilators is filled now. We are securing that ventilators. We provided more ventilators to hospital, but as you know, it is not easy to purchase ventilators because the supply in the world is very low. We are not getting ventilators from the companies. They are manufacturing only few numbers and they are supplying it throughout the world, and we are getting a few parts. But
I want to ask another question. Have you got any vaccine testing there? Is it happening in Kerala also? Is any vaccine being tested there?
We are ready. We sent only if we got a letter from that Bharat Biotech, and we send a reply to them that we are ready for testing that vaccine if we got it. And also that Oxford vaccine also, if we got it, we are ready to test. Yeah, our strategy is over. We prepared each and everything to use the vaccine in Kerala.
No trial is taking place at the moment in Kerala.
In India also, we didn't apply that trial, you know, we didn't started the trial in India. We are waiting. We can do according to ICMR guidelines only. We cannot act as our own principles or our own guidelines. We have to wait for the ICMR guidelines and central government guidelines.
So, ma'am, what is the single biggest lesson of the handling of the pandemic in Kerala? what do you think was the single biggest lesson? Was it that the public did not understand the rules, the new protocols, or was the government falling short? Exactly what went wrong? The biggest mistake?
The biggest message is nothing but to give awareness to the people properly. What is this virus? How is it spreading? And what happens after the virus infection? That is the most important thing. It is not a silly thing. People said sometimes that it is like a common flu and it will come
Yeah,
and go. But the post-COVID scenario is very difficult thing. We are experiencing that after the COVID, when the people cured out of COVID and become negative, and after 2 or 3 days they are dying due to heart attack like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Some of the people are, and the virus is affecting their hearts, lungs, and other organs.
Right.
We are now starting post-COVID clinic even from the PHC to the medical colleges. We are now starting post-COVID clinic, and we are using the indigenous medicine also, the Ayurveda sector, Ayurveda and Homeo, etc., for the prevention and also for the post-COVID treatment. Post-COVID treatment, Ayurveda is very good, I think so. But we should have to use the modern medicine to find out the thing for diagnosing and
Right.
to find out what is happening inside our body. Modern medicine is most important thing, but we can apply some medicines from Ayurveda for the goodness of the lungs and heart, etc. For blood contamination also, to purify blood also, we can use the indigenous
So,
medicine.
so ma'am, sorry, but Kerala is a leading state in terms of Ayurveda centers, in terms of wellness centers. So, is there a plan to make Kerala the capital of the post-COVID treatment? Because, as you said, you found that there are comorbidities, and patients tend to die even after the recovery. So, is there a plan to do that?
We are doing our best, but never we want to have a first place because everyone is blaming me for the that is a PR work. Like I'm not bothered about that, but we are not expecting the capital or first place or something like that. But we are trying to do our best to implement the post-COVID treatment, and if it became a model to other places, let us take it. And I am taking. We are taking other good examples from other states also. In the previous stage, all the health ministers were calling me, what are you doing there? Because it occurred here first. And
Right.
my colleagues, my brothers and sisters, they were calling me, what are you doing there? Please tell us. We should also have to do that. And we have a very good discussion. I have a discussion with Maharashtra Health Minister, video conference, and also Sudhagar, the Karnataka Minister. We are not blaming each other. We are explaining what we are doing here, and I want to know what they are doing there. If anything good is there, I want to imitate that in my state also. And that way, we are doing. Our Chief Minister and our government asked us to start post-COVID things, and we will develop that. And if anyone shows any interest to understand about our strategy, that is a transparent thing, they can also get something from that. But we have a treasure of Ayurveda system
Yeah.
here, and we are using that also. And we should have to prove that no one will die after curing this
Yeah.
COVID thing. And we are trying to. And one thing I want to measure,
Yes.
from May onwards, the cases began to rise, because of several reasons. But in May, the case fatality rate in Kerala is 0.77, and June also it is 0.6, and it gradually it was decreasing,
Yeah.
and in October it becomes 0.4, and November it is becoming 0.34, and it is decreasing. That is because of our hard work, nothing else. Thousands of people are working, not only health sector but also police
Thank
and
you.
other
Thank you.
volunteers. Everyone is working, and I hope that we can yield a good result this time also. And the post-COVID scenario also, Kerala is working hard, and
So,
uh,
ma'am, may I ask you the last question? How have your days been? Have you been working 18-hour days, 20-hour days? How have you personally coped with this?
yes, the situation is like that. We have to work. Everyone, my health secretary, he's not sleeping. Every time he is in front of his laptop and sending some messages or checking some results, etc. He is working throughout the night. I sometimes said, Rajan, please take rest for 2 hours at least. I'm saying like that. Rajan Kopralli IAS, a very good man, hard working man. And my DMO, my health director, Dr. Sarita, she was a brave lady and she helped me very much during that Nipah season, you know. She was there in Calicut with me and
Right.
together were working at that time. She is also working hard. And my DMOs in districts, they are also working hard. Every people, they were very, very, they are sacrificing their life. I can say so because taking, never they are taking rest or like that, seeing the family members, that is also it is a difficult thing. But everyone are working hard here, and I am also working. Among this pandemic, amongst these things, this chaos, I cannot sleep well. I cannot take rest, but I have some satisfaction. I am satisfied out of this work because the whole world is praising this threat. It is not only in Kerala. But anyway, the small state is tackling the problem and we are trying our best to tackle the problem. That way we are getting some satisfaction out of this hard work. And my age also, it is not, I'm not a young lady to run like this. And but I feel I am young now because I have to, I must to think like that. If I think about my age, I cannot work like this, you know. And
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chawla. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Health Minister. It was a wonderful discussion. And
Thank
all the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much.